How can some people make rapid progress on their side projects and side businesses, yet you can't? This used to bother me for so long because I'd watch people just sail along and create things and then build them and then ship them, and I just got stuck at the start line, and it was infuriating. If any of these problems resonate, you might want to pay attention. You're constantly planning and thinking, but not making any progress. You know the steps, but when you try and take action, you become kind of unclear and get overwhelmed. You keep waiting for the perfect time to start, but it never arrives. It's just a quick note. If you don't experience these, it's probably not worth you watching this video. I don't want to waste your time, so click away. But if you do, what we're going to do is unravel this so you can finally start making some progress. Why this is useful. So these problems stopped me for so long. It really felt like I was banging my head against a brick wall. I finally realized I had some huge blind spots that were quite painful to admit. But it allowed me to start making some really rapid progress on my side projects, which led to the formation of some businesses, which ultimately gave me the freedom and autonomy I was looking for. It is something I now help hundreds of clients go through, which is really, really nice considering how much pain I was in for so long. So what we're going to cover: how fear manipulates you without you realizing it, the 5 massive blind spots the most capable people miss, and in fact, the more capable you are, the bigger these blind spots. So here they are over here. We'll go through them one by one. And practical steps to beat these blind spots and make some real progress. Okay, so I want you to imagine this is you. You're marching towards your goals and everything's great. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, you just stop. Fear. But fear hides so well that you don't even realize it. So we all know fear plays a role here, but it's the way it works around you. Now, maybe you've got a steady job and you've got side projects you want to work on, but you're not having any progress. It's probably this invisible force going on. But when you can get through it, you can finally make your way to your goals, and it can be really quick as well. So the first blind spot we're going to cover is intelligence flattery. I want you to imagine fear is this entity, right? It's this kind of thing or a person. And what it does here is it uses your own intelligence and awareness against you. It flatters you. It encourages you to do deeper analysis, to look at all of the failure points with your plan and all the things that you're going to do. It forces you to create these perfect plans because, of course, you're such a deep thinker that you can create these really elaborate plans. But this is the trap, because fear knows there's no end, right? And it will just hold you in place forever. The more elaborate your plans are, the more ways it can go wrong. And I totally had this when starting my business. I was looking at all the little things that I had to be cautious of, all the risk, and I'd look up on YouTube about ways to deal with it. And so I became obsessed with the plan, looking at how it could go wrong, but it never ended. And I just became really addicted to the learning cycle, acquiring more knowledge about the business. And quite honestly, it's a bit cringe thinking back to it, because I became really knowledgeable about the theory of a business, but I wasn't actually starting anything. And it's really painful when I think back to that. And as you go down this route, you become really fixated on critique. This is like the next trap. You become like a food or film critic, analyzing how everything could be better. And you look at other people and them running. This is a bit embarrassing to admit, but then you're looking at other people doing their thing, and then you're saying, they're not doing this right, or they're not doing this, or they're not following that procedure that person suggested. And this was totally me. It really did feel like you're stroking your own ego with how thoroughly you can think about it. And you go deeper and deeper in this analysis. You're thinking about all of the caution. The action here, pause for a moment and slow down. Think about the goals you are hesitating on. What are you being overly cautious about? Think about that. We want to capture this. So we were trying to make you aware that you're going through this spiral. Remember, it's trying to flatter you by telling you how good your analysis is. And we can use a method I call the 70-30 method. And you may have seen similar things to this, but it's where you move when you're only 70% ready. So at every decision point that you're about to move, when you get to the feeling of, say, 70%, now, to be honest, it can be a lot less than this, you then try to move. You do not fill that last 30% up, because your brain and the fear will try and make you fill that up. And it knows that as you go higher and higher, it becomes harder and harder to become more certain about the last bits of your plan. So the idea here is you want to move at the 70% mark. I do this all the time, and it's something I do with a lot of clients. When I can sense that they're not quite ready, but we have enough pieces in place, we force the move, and it makes some rapid progress. The fog. Fear distorts thinking. It leads to brain fog and indecision. And interestingly, it doesn't always feel like panic. Some people, when you get really fearful, we sometimes associate it with this really strong emotion. But this is how it's really clever. It disguises itself as this subtle clouding. It's just enough to stop you, because its goal is to stop you. Right? Any way it can do it, it will do it. Just enough to stop you without raising the alarm. Because if it raises the alarm, it's really obvious that it's the fear thing. In these situations, you know you should act, but what happens is you just start to feel really vague and you don't exactly know what you're going to do. It's not enough to go away and refine the plan. It's just enough to make you step back and not move. It feels like this. You get here and then you hit the fog. I want you to imagine you're this person here and you say, I got this. I just need to execute my plan, which is this. You take it from number one, this nice elaborate plan. But then you start getting foggy and then it becomes really unclear. You end up having no clarity here. Your direction becomes unclear. It quietly stops you. An example was when I was starting my business, I was consuming content. I created this big elaborate plan of all the pieces I had in place. The website, payments, my funnel, my email list, the content, marketing, delivery, packages, everything, sales, right? And I remember having this big mind map of how it was all going to fit together. Then when I try and execute, I just couldn't do it. And so then I go back, it'll be foggy. I then go back to the content that I'd seen and the business plans I'd looked at. And then I'd be like, all right, I've got it this time. And I go and try and execute again. And then I became really foggy. It was really, really frustrating. It became this really powerful cycle. The actions here, you want to anticipate the fog. Reduce your expectations. I want you to imagine you're actually walking through fog. Just walking forward and staying balanced is really difficult, right? So we need to simplify. Make your plans extremely easy to follow. An example here was, with the business, I wanted to create this elaborate website with this big application system and a big sign-up thing. But eventually I just boiled it down to a really simple form. And I even got rid of my website right to start with. And it just became a form. In here, we want to think about keeping it really simple. Right foot forward, left foot forward, and having a really simple checklist and not thinking about this big elaborate plan. Trying to simplify, just like you would navigate through fog. You wouldn't think about how fast you're going to run or the time it's going to take to get through it or where you're going to go after. The third one is invisible chains. And this is about logic. Fear is not always the feeling of resistance. Sometimes it disguises itself as logic. What it does is it finds these grounded reasons for you not to take action. For example, it's not the right time. You're not ready. More preparation is needed. And you don't notice this because each of those reasons, actually, there's some truth in it. Because right now might not be the perfectly right time. And there's always more preparation you could do. So there is some logic in this, and that's how it can hold you back. The example here was when I was looking at creating content, I was always thinking about, look, I'll start creating content when I've got more time on my calendar. I'm not so busy with work. And there's always things like, there's more YouTube videos to watch out on how to create better YouTube videos. And you've ever seen my other videos? It was 12 years since I created my YouTube channel and put my first bit of face to camera content out. I just went through this loop forever. Action. Think about a project you've been delaying due to a logical reason, because we can catch it. We can catch the fear if we're aware that it's going on. A lot of people are not actually aware what is happening here. At this point, challenge this reason. We're trying to corner it because it only works when you're glazing over it. Ask yourself, is it really justified to completely stop you in your tracks? These reasons that it's giving you, like the not the right time or more preparation, the reasons rarely ever change. Fear will use it against you again. Right, the next time you actually start to consider this, it will use it again. You have to find ways to think about how to overcome this. An example here, and you may have heard this before, but you really need to put it into a corner and say it to yourself when you need to use it. There won't be a better time. You will always be a level of busy. And just think about the times that you've been through this. It may have been 5 or 6 times already. So the 7th time is going to be exactly the same. And that you won't ever feel ready. And then you get back to the 70-30 idea. Okay. The next one. Fear uses your own intelligence against you. It clouds your thinking. It uses logic against you. And now it can convince you why you don't even want what you're aiming for. Right. So the 4th one is hiding in success. Most of you are probably thinking success is the ultimate goal for you. But the problem is, it actually brings some unexpected fears. There's new responsibilities if you're successful, new challenges. Ultimately, lots of unfamiliar environments. And this is a perfect place for fear to grab onto. It will seize this opportunity to convince you that embarking on this mission is not a good idea in the first place. It will make you feel really unsettled, anxious, and probably overwhelmed. So that you reach a conclusion, staying where you are is clearly the safer and easier choice. And I had an example here where I worked with a client, Chris, and he was looking to uproot his life, and it would be a clear step up in terms of success and where he wanted to head. But the fear really got hold of him and made him feel really overwhelmed to the point where he felt nauseous when he was about to take his flight to leave and nearly cancelled it. It is really powerful, this effect. You need to capture it. So, what can we do? Reflect if you are hesitating due to what you imagine success will bring. Your brain tends to latch onto these ideas, and it will assume you will be the same person as you are now. This is important. Hold on to this thought. But the journey itself has a growth function. You'll become more capable through the challenges and lessons you'll experience. And these experiences will equip you with the necessary skills to deal with the new challenges that success will bring. What we're saying here is you'll essentially become stronger. But it's hard for you to see that because you're not that person yet. And fear knows this. It will use your identity of who you are now, and it will just latch onto all of the negatives to make you stay here. Now, to confuse things, fear is not just subtle in these other kind of insidious ways that it captures you. It can be pretty blatant too, and what it can do is cause a bit of confusion. Sometimes fear just stops you dead in your tracks. Now, this is usually when you've actually broken through the previous 4. This one is its last ditch attempt to completely neutralize you. It just gives no reason. It gives you an overwhelming feeling of nothingness, that you're just stuck and you freeze and you feel this paralysis. And sometimes you will feel a sense of dread. This is something that I've experienced, something that when we're working through a big change with a client, the client will report this feeling that they just feel this awful sense of dread and just feeling stuck. So what can we do about this one? This is quite a tricky one to deal with. But first thing you can do is, again, anticipate this feeling. Now you know it is going to happen. Anticipate this. It's like standing at the edge of a small cliff jump or something like that, a bungee jump. Don't be surprised that it's going to happen. And what we can do is we can design small experiments where they are safe for you to move. They're kind of objectively safe. And you can check that beforehand. So then you know it is very similar to the bungee jump, as long as you trust the bungee jump thing. It will allow you to free yourself and dip your toe in. In the swimming pool example, we're thinking, okay, is it safe? The pool is safe to jump into. We can just get moving, put our toes into the water. And what it will do is it will break the frozen spell that fear has over you. And you have to remember, when you're in a situation, fear it's stopping you from going through all these experiences and enabling the learning cycle to begin. So this is like the last ditch attempt it has to stop you. Okay, that's all for this video. I'll see you in the next one.